Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Held, Director of the Care Providers Insurance Services Program. We're very excited that you're joining us today to learn more about our program and the social service space and how we can help you grow your book of business. At the end of the day, we realize our success is tied to your success, so we want to talk through some of the classes that we've been seeing a lot of success in. We call them our hot classes, as well as our overall broader appetite. As we go through the program today, we'll have time for questions and to get in to anything specific that you have. Also, at the end of the program today, we'll be doing a drawing for one lucky winner to win a $150 gift card. The agenda that we'll be going over today to make sure it's a good use of your time and our time. We're going to give an overview of CPS or care providers, as well as NSM insurance. We'll dive into kind of some of the broader classes in our appetite. Go through a couple of segments that we're seeing a lot of success in, and then talk about if you're not currently working with care providers, how can you partner with us? We do only work with appointed independent agents. That's a big selling point for us, so we'll talk more about that. And then at the end, make sure we have time for questions and answers. So care providers is part of NSM Insurance Group. NSM, Niche Specialty Markets, is what it stands for, and we are a leader in specialty insurance across the country and in Europe. We have over $1.3 billion in written premium. We work with over 1 million clients in our business-to-business and business-to-consumer programs, and have over 10,000 broker partnerships that we hold dear, and it's a company that continues to grow. So we're a proud part of NSM. Some of the programs, Scott, if you can hit the next slide, some of the programs that we have across the U.S. are our collector car programs, American Collector Insurance, HECOC. We do workers' compensation. We have a towing program in KBK. A lot of good programs that could help round out accounts outside of the social service space that you may be working on. One of our programs that we work closely with is ATP, which focuses on behavioral health and addiction treatment. So it's still tied to that human service, social service, and they do a great job with those specific risks. So our mission remains the same. At Care Providers, we want to be a leader in the social service insurance. The way we do that is by delivering on some key principles. We disciplined and diligent underwriting. We want to make sure that we are a strong market partner for our insureds and our brokers for another 25 plus years. We have comprehensive insurance solutions. We have multiple coverages, which we'll talk about as we go through today. But also, we want to find ways to help solve problems at the end of the day. We want to attract and retain top-notch talent. We have over 100 years of CPS program experience on our underwriting team, and we feel that that experience helps us help you become experts when working with your agents. And then what do you get when you work with care providers? So when you work with care providers, we focus solely on the social service space. We're not going to be working on a construction account today and then a social service account tomorrow. We really are focused on just that social service space and want to be the best we can at it. We have exclusive programs with both of our carrier partners, both Arch and Guard. Both are A+ rated and really help to drive that specialization in those classes of business that you may be pursuing. Another one of our differentiators, and we'll talk about it on the next slide, is our in-house claims team. We have very experienced staff who are focused on working with social service organizations and some of the unique claim aspects that they could face. And again, we have in-depth knowledge across our team and are continually looking to grow and add in our in that knowledge space and with new teammates. So Jay Belcher is manages our claim team internally. Jay is a huge resource for both our insureds and brokers. Jay's primary focus is to make sure that claims have the correct outcome and that our clients have good experiences. Jay works closely with Athens Administrator, our TPA, to oversee claims, especially some of those that are difficult or unique, to make sure that not only is the right adjuster handling them, but anything additional questions are answered. If you ever need in-depth conversations on a specific aspect of a claim, as well as doing claim roundtables on specific accounts. Jay is a huge resource and regularly is noted as being a differentiator for the Care Providers Program. So speaking of our CPS leadership team, there's a picture of Jay. He's the other bald guy on the screen. We have Ed Partridge, who is our East Zone underwriting manager. Ed's getting there. He'll join the bald club probably in 20 years. And then we have Chetzy Bunce, and Chetzy leads our small business unit. And both Ed and Chetzy will be sharing more about our program today, as well as doing a deeper dive into several of the classes of business. Next up, we have our ARCH team. With ARCH, we write churches, private and charter schools, and pregnancy resource centers. And the team on the screen right now, that is their sole focus, are those classes. They really dig in and get to know every aspect of those specific type of risks and are focused on how they can help you win in that space. Similarly, on the next page, is our GUARD team, and GUARD works on the rest of the social service classes of business. It's a broader class range on there, thus increase in number of employees, but each brings a specialized focus to helping you satisfy your existing clients and win new clients. And with that, I will turn it over to Ed, and Ed's going to dive in and give us a little more overview on our appetite.
Thank you, Chris. First off, I'd like to object to Chris's comment about the hair. I think I got a pretty full head of hair. Knock on wood, that continues 20 years and on, but time will tell. So thank you. You know, one of the words Chris keeps using is broad. So when you talk about the appetite in the program, I really think that broad should be the first word that comes to your mind. So we do have a robust appetite. So when we look at our future growth, you know, that's one of the key differentiators. You know, the fact that Care Providers have been around for 30 plus years, we understand this business really well. So we know what we want to write, and we know how to write it profitably and efficiently, for both you and your clients. So if you have accounts outside of foster care and adoption, outside of transportation only, outside of strictly troubled youth, chances are we can look at it for you. So it's actually easy for us sometimes to say what we can't do rather than what we can do. And ultimately, our goal is to help you win accounts, put you in a position to bind business. We're going to put a competitive product in front of you and offer great service along the way. Chris mentioned 2 underwriting teams. So there are 2 carriers that we utilize for the program, GUARD Insurance and ARCH Insurance. So you're getting A+ carriers on both ends, A+ paper. You know, very financially strong companies that know the space well and know that, you know, we're the partner that's been doing this a while. that can underwrite, that business and do it profitably. So within the guard team, Chris mentioned that's probably the bulk of what you're seeing within the program, and we'll get into Arch in a few minutes. But social service programs, we love community action agencies, Head Start programs, early Head Start programs, counseling services, do a lot of YWCAs. We do some YMCAs as well. They're socially service focused. Big brothers, big sisters, shelters. We do smaller shelters, larger shelters. Do them in both urban and rural areas as well. So kind of see a mixed bag across that class. Community centers, crisis intervention. When you get into the animal welfare, we do write some SPCAs, animal rescue and shelters. Missions and outreach programs that are typically fall within that faith-based organization class. And then IDD, which is a class, we're going to talk about in a little more detail as we get on here. But, this is a class that we've been writing for a very long time, do a lot of residential IDD within the program. So doing the group homes, we write some sheltered workshops, special needs schools, and vocational programs within that class. And then, botanical gardens and museums, these are two classes that we don't focus on, but we do see them from time to time, so they are eligible for the program. Next carrier is Arch. So Arch has been a partner of the program for a very long time. And when we carved out the social service from the program to another carrier, Arch stayed on three main segments of business for us. So pregnancy centers, schools, private and charter, and then religious and faith-based institutions, so churches, synagogues, and mosques. Those are the three main segments that stayed with Arch, and we're writing these across the country as well with the social service. So, a few highlights. Why we do really well as a program is because we do offer broad coverage. We're going to give you and your client the coverages you need to write this business. So we offer full package, GL, professional, and abuse, both on occurrence and claims made. We do primary limits of 1 million, 3 million. You can see here we have defense in addition to the limits on the PL. And then on the Arch side, you have the option to bring it within limits for the abuse. Auto, we do 1 million primary for auto coverage, and then we can cover 15 passenger vans and buses. So there are some carriers that do have a limited appetite in this regard, but this has been a key differentiator for us, is the fact that we can offer coverage for those larger vehicles that are doing client transport. You're going to ask some questions around underwriting, make sure the right risk control procedures are in place, but if we're comfortable with it and we think we can write it profitably, we can absolutely offer coverage for those larger auto schedules. Umbrella and excess, we'll do limits up to $5 million for the umbrella, and we can include the professional and abuse within that umbrella. Property, blanket options available. We have the ability to write large property schedules, and we do have a property enhancement that's very competitive in the marketplace as well. You'll see under the additional coverages, some ancillary lines that we do offer: EPL, D&O, crime in the marine, cyber, fiduciary, and then the A&H. We can write those lines for you as well. Sometimes our agents do have direct market access for those lines, but if not, or if just want us to handle the account soup to nuts, we're happy to do so. So we partner with a couple other carriers for those lines of business. Next slide, please. Okay, so hot classes. I know this is what you all came for today. So like I said, it's very broad in what we can write, but if we're going to tell you some hot classes, what we'd like to see today, things we've been hitting on, we've been having a lot of success throughout the country. IDD and group homes, definitely one that I would say that we're doing very well with. And just, a little bit about this class for you. So intellectual and developmentally disability service system is evolving from one focused on large institutions, often far from a person's home and community, to one based on a flexible and dynamic system that's offering services close to home in the community. The new system's tailored to the needs of the person living in their home community, which include community, residential, and day support services. We just moved a couple years ago, but in my old house that was, a mile and a half from here, I didn't know, but we had a group home right behind us that was tied to a larger account that we actually got a submission in before that had homes all throughout, 3 surrounding counties. And it wasn't until I actually saw one of the transit vans come around, picking people up that I realized, oh, wow, I saw that account before, and this is just one of the homes of many. So you do see those, group homes, in the neighborhood, and, they're spread out, so they're not only just, small accounts, sometimes they're mid-sized to larger accounts if they have many homes in the organization. So, and then people with developmental disabilities are living longer, creating an increase in the length of stay in group homes and increased housing needs. So this, from an agent's perspective, it's just more of a need. There's going to be more opportunity to write this type of business moving forward. Next slide, please. And then hospice, another class we've really been hitting on pretty well. This stat here in 2020, over 1.6 million patients were taken care of through hospice services in the U.S. Hospice provides medical care, pain management, as well as emotional and spiritual support. So we'll write smaller hospice agencies up through like mid-size to even larger in some cases. So I would say, and we'll get into some recent successes in a couple slides coming up, but sometimes we'll see a larger hospice that grows a smaller hospice that grows into a larger one over time. So, you might be looking at an account and say, hey, there's not too much premium to this now, but, just to give you a background, we have seen them grow into some nice size accounts. Some of the coverage we offer for these two classes, we mentioned the GL, the PL, and the use. We can package it together. We can do occurrence. We can do claims made. We're covering the acts of all employees, volunteers, and contract workers. And then the blanket building BPP and business income, something definitely a competitive advantage for us within this class. We do have blanket special events coverage. As I mentioned, we can go up to $5 million on the umbrella, and then offer these other lines of coverage as well with your package. Next slide. So recent successes. Here's an account we just wrote last month, IDD Group Home, for an account coming out of Michigan. It was $15,000 in premium. We wrote the package, the auto, and the umbrella. We did provide Symbol 1 for the auto as well. That was the main selling point for this account, where the other carrier was not able to offer Symbol 1 on the auto. Helped our agent to win it. And then we included $1 million of umbrella coverage that had the abuse and the PL up to that full limit. And then a hospice account, as I mentioned, sometimes these start off as smaller accounts, grow into larger accounts. This one was located in California. It was a new venture and a for-profit agency, which is not something that we see all of our competitors writing. And then we did write the package and the hire non-owned auto for this account. In-home hospice services, and we included the nurses within the professional liability. So you might be looking at the premium saying, hey, it's a smaller account, but some of our agents, focus on this, and we're able to turn these around, pretty quickly. And our hope is that they continue to grow with you and your agency, and business that sticks for you. So, I'm going to hand it off to Chetzy now, who's going to get into some other classes of business, some hot classes that we've been seeing, for our program. So, all yours, Chetzy.
Thanks, Ed. I'm just going to go over a couple more classes of business. First, Big Brothers and Big Sisters. We write these with GUARD, one of our favorite classes right now. You might consider them. a higher risk, higher hazard class of business just because of the client one-on-one exposures. But Big Brothers Big Sisters accounts have performed really well from a claims perspective. They have excellent controls in place. These organizations, they follow the Big Brothers Big Sisters of America's nationwide standards, which are based on industry best practices. The staff and volunteer bigs go through extensive screening processes before being placed with the little. We do offer sexual abuse coverage. The limits are separate from the GL, which is something unique some other carriers don't provide. Because it's very volunteer driven, we also have some other coverage extensions. We extend coverage to include volunteers as insureds. A lot of the activities the Big Brothers Big Sisters programs have are off-site or on-site. We do include both on-site and off-site activities in our coverage. And you might come across several that have claims made. We do write claims made coverage. So if you come across an account that might have a older claims made retro date, we can still take a look at it and offer the claims made coverage. Next slide. One of our recent successes we've had, it was an organization with 240 participants. For this particular class of business, we really like them, so we were able to turn around a quote in 48 hours. They did have claims made coverage. The retro date was 1997, and we were able to provide that. This particular insured, they opted to add helpline service. This isn't an insurance coverage. We just partner with Inquiron. They are a HR resource. It's a great service for a lot of smaller organizations that might not have a dedicated HR person on staff. It's optional. It can be purchased for a flat charge. What it does is it gives the insured unlimited access to licensed attorneys if they have questions about hiring or firing. But it's a really good resource for some of the smaller organizations that don't have that staff on hand. BBBS, great class. They perform well. We'll do other accounts that are mentoring as well. It doesn't have to be affiliated with Big Brothers Big Sisters, but if you have some type of mentoring type of account, we'll quote those as well. The next class we have is private and charter schools. These are with our other carrier, Arch Insurance Company. We've insured these for years. This segment actually has really grown in the last couple of years, partially because of the pandemic. Enrollment has increased in charter schools. It was 7% in 2020, and the market segment itself has grown by $5 billion since 2019. So there are a lot of opportunities here, and we will write a lot of charter schools within the Arch program. Next slide. The coverages that we include, we have a special educators form for the professional liability for the teachers. The coverages include things like failure to educate, failure to supervise, along with other types of coverage. We include abuse coverage as well. Again, it is separate from the GL limit, so if that's something that some of the other carriers might not provide, it might be included in their GL limit. For this class, we want to make sure all the proper controls are in place, like background checks, reference checks, since they do work with children. So any submissions we do receive, we like to make sure that they have the proper controls in place. They do have a higher auto exposure because of client transport. There might be buses or vans. So we do offer coverage for buses and vans, and we really like the insureds to have some type of driver training program in place, check MVRs as part of their hiring practices. Those are the good ones that we like to see. The GL enhancement includes additional coverages like blanket additional insureds, special event coverage. I think there are over 20 coverage enhancements, too many to name, but there's a lot of throwing coverages that we include. We also offer accident policies for students and volunteers. And we'll partner with a couple other carriers for D&O or EPLI insurance if they need it. A recent one that we had, they had a theft claim, an auto theft claim. They were being non-renewed. We were able to provide a quote and with competitive terms on this particular account, and win for the agent and win for us. And we've got one other class to go over. Churches, again, this is a class that we've written for years with the Arch Insurance Company as well. The only caveat with this class is they do have a minimum premium of $15,000 to qualify. So we target mainly the medium-sized to larger-sized churches. Typically their property is well maintained. So if you have a smaller church kind of out in the middle of nowhere, those aren't really the ones that we target. But medium to larger size churches, those are the ones that we'd love to see. COVID did have an impact on the churches. A lot of them had to do virtual, some of them still are, but there's a large percentage of churches that are doing in-person, back to in-person services. Some of the key coverages, aside from property, we've got professional liability for pastors, for counseling. We do include abuse and molestation coverage. Again, that's separate from the jail limits. Some churches might have a daycare. They might have vehicles as well used for transport. We extend coverage to those vehicles. And again, the enhancement that we have, it has a variety of sublimit coverages. One of the unique ones, I was looking at it earlier today, is workplace violence counseling, fine arts. You might have a lot of churches that might have a small fine arts schedule, so we do have some built-in coverages in our enhancement. Accident insurance can be provided through a third party that we work with, and we also work with a third party for D&O and EPLI. Next slide. Okay. This most recent success, it was for a larger church. It had a daycare, very heavy property schedule. So we were able to provide a quote. This particular insured had really good risk management practices. So that was really helpful because they did have some claims activity. So if your organization has implemented driver training, they have building maintenance personnel. These are key items that we look for. This particular insured, like I said, they had great controls in place, which is why we were able to offer a competitive quote and when they count on this one. So that was the last of the hot classes. I'm going to hand it over to Chris, and he's just going to give you some more information on how you can partner with us. All right, Chris, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Thanks, Ed and Chetzy. Y'all did a great job of walking through the appetite in our classes. So what are we looking for when we're partnering with new agents? We're looking for agents that have a portfolio of social service or religious organization business and or a focus on continuing to grow in that space. As mentioned before, we do not work with wholesalers in our program. We restrict our capacity for our retail agency partners. So that's a key for us. We are looking for agency partners that want to build that meaningful, strong relationship with a carrier. So we're looking for partners that are committed to growth, and for partners that are willing to think outside the box. And for insureds and as underwriters, it's how can we get to yes is really what we're focused on. So if that's a space that you currently are looking to grow in and or looking for new partners, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of the three of us after this call. We'd love to have those conversations. So now we just wanted to open it up and take a little time. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself. And I will also look to see if any have come through the chat. Any questions? One that came in through the chat is, will our umbrella set over the D&O coverage? Currently, it does not. We do, with some of our partners that we work on providing the D&O with, can provide just higher standalone D&O limits in a lot of cases. And then is all I see coming through on the chat at this time.
Chris,
well, we wanted. Yes, I can hear you.
I put in a question. This is Michael. I said, how do we clear an account with you? So how do we know if you're already on an account?
Sure. So we have a inbox that you can send all new business submissions to. It's CPS dash submissions with an S on the end at nsminc.com. And we will log it into our system and do a check to see if we have an existing submission on that account.
So it's CPS underscore submissions?
CPS dash
Oh,
submissions.
dash, okay, dash.
Yes,
CPF
sir.
dash submissions at nsminc.com.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.
Absolutely. And if you go to the nsminc.com website, you can find information on our program as well as all the other NSM programs as far as contact information as well as submission inboxes.
I do. It's a very good site. A lot of great, useful information on there. I did prior to this webinar.
And just to add on to that, when you do send a submission in, you'll get an email back letting you know who your underwriting contact is. And if you were blocked for that submission, you would get a notification on that as well.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate it.
So one question that came in is, on abuse and molestation, do we require background checks on employees and volunteers? That is a requirement within our program, especially when you think about the classes of individuals that a lot of our programs service. They're either children.
Yeah.
Sorry, got a little feedback. Children or those that are intellectually and developmentally disabled. So very vulnerable class of business. So we do feel that full background checks are very important and key to us being able to provide abuse coverage. There was one other question around pricing overall. So I think as the general commercial insurance marketplace has seen hardening over time. We've seen that in the social service space as well. It's something that we continue to monitor in our book as well as across the market space. We're still offering very competitive rates, and we really do look at pricing on an individual account basis based on the exposures presented, their experience, and how well and the depth of their policies and procedures as far as controls go. Just seeing if there's any others. There was a question if there are services that can help with background checks. There's several services out there. One is Presidium Insurance, Presidium Services. They focus solely on abuse and molestation coverage prevention. They have access to policies and procedures to help develop those as well as reviews. So we have partnered with Presidium in the past to help on, provide some of those services. Being a NSM client, you do get a discounted rate on background checks. There was a question on coastal areas and churches. So we look at the coastal areas very carefully. Like with any carrier, a lot of it's going to depend on age, distance to coast. If you look down on the coastal regions, we still are active in all of those regions, but what we can do on any specific account will be determined based on the risk characteristics of the property being presented, as well as distance to the coast and where along the coast it falls. All right. Well, I believe that is all of the questions that we have at this time. We would all like to thank you very much for your time today, for learning more about the Care Providers Program. And if we can help in any way, we'd love to discuss how we can build a bigger or a new partnership and grow together. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.